Hello and welcome all to Tales from the Time Traveler's Tavern. I will be your guide and navigator, Mr.E, taking you on this informative journey. Informative of what? We still don't know. But that's why I have had the good fortune to bring along with me the colorful commentary of our internet guru, my good friend Toast.
Butter is optional.
There you go. And to the other side, we have Private Snafu.
Good day, Mr.E. Good day, Toast.
Alright, now we're going to go down a traveling line of science fiction or science fiction and all that kind of good stuff.
That Disney is moving away from George Lucas's original idea of the Force being light side, dark side. You're either on the light or you're on the dark, and moving more towards a gray.
Toward a gray area, okay.
Because they're moving towards the idea of the Bendu, which is the gray area. So you end up with people saying, well, like Mace Windu, he's a darker end. He's the darker end of Jedi, not just because of his skin tone. But because when you actually watch him fight, he fights angry. And Jedi aren't supposed to use their anger in a fight, because it's dark side. But, you have a darker end of things, Jedi, who's still a Jedi. He's still light side.
Right.
But he's a bit shadier. But you also have the other side with the Sith, where you have Sith that aren't downright evil dicks. They're still concerned about personal wealth, power, that moment of, I will have what is mine, but they're not going to stab someone just because they can.
They're not going to blow up a star system just to get their way.
Thinking of
That was Tarkin.
Thinking of Mace Windu,
Even though technically that was a military target. I was reading on that too. They had proof, again, according to certain books, the Empire had proof that Alderaan was supplying munitions and a base for the rebels. So they destroyed it as a military target, never mind all the civilians involved.
this is like something that I've been thinking about. But did you know that the person who played Mace Windu was also in the Kingsman? Yeah, that's the movie where he's the main bad guy. Yeah. Like, he controls all the people, like, the thing that...
Sam Jackson's also in Jurassic Park.
Have you heard him speak in that? Like, he sounds a lot different than when he's Mace
Windu.
Oh, yeah.
It's because he's an actor.
Yeah, that's kind of what he does.
Yeah, but I don't know, I thought it was kind of interesting, like, when he got stabbed.
I'm sure you'll find it very interesting that he also is Nick Fury in the Avengers movies.
Honestly, that doesn't surprise me.
It shouldn't, because he is.
Yeah.
But my question is, when the jets are trying to take off and, like, he shoots the RPG at the plane's landing gear, the front one, and he manages to hit that, how would he hit that? He has, like, no depth perception. That would be such a hard shot. Like, that'd be 1 in a million.
Not necessarily. You gotta remember the fact that the shield technology basically is assisted targeting all the way. All he has to do is wait for the reticle to turn green.
I know, but, like, if it's a normal person with just an eye patch, like, that would be a really hard shot to take because, you have to figure...
I was trying to figure out which movie you were speaking through, but
you kind of did jump around a little there.
For Nick Fury, because I'm assuming that's the only one with an eye patch, 1, well-trained.
Yeah, he is one of the highest trained SEAL agents ever.
But 2, you also have to remember that it's not like it was he lost his eye last week. It's apparently been a couple of years.
Yeah.
So he may not have depth perception as any person with 2 eyes would have, but he would be able to judge going, okay, this should be about this far out. And with training, you can go, should be about here, should be about here, about here's about right. Yeah. And get it good because you get used to it. It's all down to training.
More than that, how many snipers use both eyes through a scope?
Almost all of them.
Scopes have 1 eye.
Yes, but if you look at people like Vasily Zaitsev and Chris Kyle, both very famous snipers, they use both eyes. A lot of snipers actually still use both eyes. Because one is for the peripheral vision, one is for...
What I'm saying in that regard, though, is that depth perception can be overcome. Toast is definitely right about that.
Then if you want to go on the more mythical end of it, Daredevil.
Good mythical morning.
Hashtag not sponsored.
We're doing hashtags now?
I don't know.
Hashtag.
Hashtag hashbrown?
Hashtag Toast.
You watch, we'll get sued by McDonald's now for that.
Actually, I was thinking of the hash brown hashtag they made.
I'd say just hashtag Toast, and then Wonder Bread would probably sue us. I mean...
Well, I'm very white.
And they're owned by Hostess, who did go under for a while.
I don't know.
There was this huge thing where they were afraid that Twinkies weren't going to be made anymore.
I remember that because a few years ago, and they're like, oh my god, god, they're gonna stop making Twinkies, and it became a whole big thing, and then they didn't end up stop making Twinkies, it really wouldn't have affected me in any way.
But here's the funny one. The joke they always make about Twinkies is that they last forever. Hell, even...
Zombieland all over again.
Yeah, Zombieland did it. Which other one did it? Freaking stupid...
Family Guy did it.
Nick Cage movie. What was it?
National
Ghost
Treasure?
Rider.
Oh.
Negative Ghost Rider.
Yeah, Ghost Rider. The second Ghost Rider movie. They had that dude that rots everything he touches all the way up until he gets to the Twinkie. Except that they actually studied Twinkies and they realized that the cream filling does last longer than the bread by like 2 days. The bread only lasts like 30 days and then it starts disintegrating.
Thinking of just like things that don't go bad. I was reading some interesting things on a Facebook, like We Are the Mighty on Facebook. They post about military things. But they did an article about M.R.E.s.
Oh, and certain M.R.E.s are scary.
Oh, egg omelet is the worst that I've ever had. If it's not cooked properly, it's crunchy. And if it's cooked properly, it has the consistency of snot around the eggs.
Ew.
It's really not good.
So there's no good middle ground.
No. 0 out of 10 would I recommend. I've been pondering this for a YouTube series, actually, kind of.
Almost like a will it blend scenario.
Yes, but like, no, I would get M.R.E.s and have a little taste test thing on the YouTube channel. I think that'd be kind of interesting. So, get this.
Well, no, I gotta ask first off, is Chicken a la King really the most popular?
In my opinion, I like the chicken noodle soup.
Okay.
But Chicken a la King is also pretty popular. So is Chili Mac, because Chili Mac really can't be all that bad.
I heard that the way they flavor that, they can't screw it up.
No. It really can't be. And ketchup and hot sauce fixes everything because then you just can't taste anything through them. So get this.
You want to try the hot sauce I got?
No. I've seen that stuff. No, I do not.
It's not that bad.
But get
What was it called again?
After Death?
When you're including death in your title.
It's the line.
A full, pallet of M.R.E.s can be pushed out of C-130 at, 500 feet without a parachute. They can just be pushed out and land anywhere on the ground. They can be undamaged from, 1,000 to 2,000 feet without a parachute, and, 3,500 feet without a parachute, or with a parachute without being damaged. I find that's interesting.
Especially since someone had to test that.
Yes.
Well, moreover than that, there's the fact that it means that does it qualify as food anymore?
I say it's more nutrition than food, because one M.R.E. packet is supposed to be days worth of ration.
2 days worth of ration, and it's supposed to be good for what, 2 years or something?
There's M.R.E.s that are still good that are older than I am.
And some of those depend, because I've actually seen a bit.
And what is your age?
18.
Because I'd seen one where someone actually opened up an M.R.E. from the 1960s, and as soon as they cracked the seal on it, the first reaction was, "Oh God!" Because even though it was sealed, it was bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there are some that can go bad, but there are some that just don't, and you're like, ew.
I say, or you can't tell if it went bad.
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember that there are delicacies in the world where it is effectively canned raw fish.
Kimchi?
Alaska, I heard that they'll catch fish and they'll bury them. Put them in a sack, get that sack wet, put it in dirt and cover it back up and put a rock over it, let it sit for 6 months, pull it out, and then start eating it.
I don't know if that's true of that, but I know that
it's something
there's a similar practice in Norway with this canned fish, where as soon as you open it, it's bad. But there are people who love it.
So, all I'm thinking is, you know, it'd be really interesting if someone went and just took that, relabeled it. This is a can of whoop-ass. Oh God!
Now we know how to market it in this country.
I'm going to open a can of whoop-ass on you. Really? Oh, no!
It burns my eyes!
It burns my soul. You haven't even touched it. I know!
The fish smells like burning!
Hey, we could have a new military weapon there. Just open the can and throw it in the door, and everybody will go running out, and as they run out, just shoot them.
Hey, it'd be a good way to clear out the White House as soon as the term is up.
No. I much prefer the British way.
Define.
I mean, they burned it down once.
Oh, yeah, true. Good point.
Yeah, but that was back when it was in New York still, right?
No, the one in D.C.
They burned down the one in D.C.?
Yeah.
When?
18 something or other.
1870? 1860?
Somewhere in there.
Why?
Because
The British.
I
We literally declared war against them. The same war as Star Spangled Banner was made.
well, isn't that the 1770s? Isn't that the Revolutionary?
No,
Yeah.
no.
No.
I feel bad that, I can't. I mean, like, normally I could just rattle this stuff off, but, like, for some reason, you know how you just have those...
No, we weren't
dots?
friendly with Britain until after the Civil War. But that's how... I had heard that's how the White House had caught fire. Now you're going to look it up, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but, the Smithsonian, before I went to basic, we went...
1814, apparently.
1814. Okay. But anyways...
During the War of 1812.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, so, like,
So nobody was right. Shows how much we know history.
yeah.
I wasn't alive for it.
So anyways, in the Smithsonian, there is the American History exhibit, and specifically Why We Fight. They had the original flag from the War of 1812 and all that, and like the original lyrics to the Star-Spangled Banner, and they explained all that, and that was pretty cool. It was just a thing, you know?
So it was, well, that happened.
Yeah. I know, it's pretty cool though, to like see the
Now I'm
flag.
sitting in this chair.
I'd watch a program called 10 Things You Don't Know. One season was hosted by Henry Rollins, and I think it was in that one. The second season was hosted by a friend of his, but one of the things they did was 10 things you didn't know about Washington, D.C.
Right.
And one of them was the actual remnants of the White House from when they had to do a renovation. I think it was when they did a renovation because the interior was crumbling.
Right.
Because no one maintained it.
Right.
Are actually buried underneath a baseball diamond.
Yep.
I've heard of that one.
Yep.
And they're like,
They gutted the entire interior of the building and redid it.
I thought I heard something like that with the one that's...
That was during Hoover's time, actually.
Yeah. Because didn't they say they like were putting power outlets when the interior really wasn't good? They were complaining like, oh, it sounds like one of the children are stomping above me, and they're just normally walking. It's just the interior was in such bad shape that it was just rattling that much. I don't know. It's its own thing.
But yeah, no, I had seen that, and I found some interesting things out of that.
I like a lot of the stuff that Henry Rollins does.
Yeah, one of the more famous quotes from World War II that I heard out of that was from Winston Churchill, because apparently he was a terrible house guest while he was staying in the White House, because every room he was ever in constantly reeked of cigar smoke, and he had a proclivity for walking around the guest area naked.
That would be really awkward.
Yeah, especially since he did get walked in on by FDR at one point.
Oh.
And his response, of course, was to say, Mr. President, Great Britain has nothing to hide from the United States. And I'm almost certain that it was an invitation for FDR to say, I really wish you would.
One of my favorite Winston Churchill quotes has got to be, I can't remember who it was, but a woman once said to him, Sir, if you were my husband, I would poison your tea. And his response was, Madam, if I was your husband, I would drink it.
Oh, all right. Well, anything else we want to cover?
Apparently Winston Churchill when he's naked.
Hey, that one was from 10 Things You Didn't Know.
I was just going to say there's a lot of territory to cover there.
I don't want to think about that. Especially since we have his image in the Time Traveler's Tavern.
Just because it's in your wallet doesn't mean we want to know.
It's on the wall, not in my wallet.
That's what you say now.
Wall, wallet, they sound the same. Why don't we throw Wall Street in there and Walmart?
We already did throw Wall Street in here.
Fine, Walmart then.
Why don't you mention Wally?
Because
he'd be the only useful thing of all of those. Winston Churchill is dead, so is Sam Walton, and
He didn't say Sam Walton, he said Walmart.
which was owned by...
And Winston Churchill was the leader of a country that's still around.
Yes. I said he was useful, he's not useful anymore.
Walmart, Walgreens... Wally.
Waldrug.
Fair. That's in Wyoming, isn't it?
One of these days I'm going to get around to watching the episode about the pharmacy called Butt Drugs.
Yeah, why not? There's a butcher in Bronx, I believe. And I kid you not, it's called Beecher Meat.
Oh, no, at one of these jerky stores I was at a few days ago, I saw a t-shirt that said, you can jerk anything. And I was like, that's kind of neat. Like, I get where they're going here, but...
If you want to try somewhere interesting to go up to Appleton. One, they have a place called All Things Jerky. I need to stop there one of these days. But also, they had a couple of shooting ranges you might be interested in.
Oh, nice.
One had a massive billboard that all it said on it was, we sell silencers!
Oh, boy.
Hey, if Trump and Mad Dog actually make that a thing, you'll no longer need federal stamps to get suppressors, and anybody can own one, and I might buy one.
Oh, they don't say that with suppressors. They call them silencers.
Yeah, sound suppressors, though.
You gotta remember, especially with the Republican Party, semantics are important.
But still, I mean, that'd be kind of cool, but they burn out really fast, and they're kind
You
of
know,
a lot
that's
of
the
money.
one thing that they don't talk about in the movies.
That's because most of the times in the movies you're not really worried about the long-term effects, because you're kind of more worried about what you're shooting at.
And in movies, they tend to get the amount of noise wrong, because suppressors are still extremely loud. They're not as loud as, just, oh, I'm pulling out a 30-06 and shooting, but it's not a mouse fart either. It's still pretty loud.
I'm just imagining Mickey Mouse.
Oh.
Sorry, just that thought. Just the thought of.
Yeah.
Sounds like a brand new type of rocketry.
I don't want that type of rocket.
Now here's the funny one. I'm showing an image of a comic called Bizarro by Dan Piraro, where he made fun of Mickey Mouse, of which parody is the only thing that saved his behind there. Here's the thing. I actually own a mouse-like rodent at my house. It is, in fact, a hamster. Their paws really do look like that.
Really?
Yes. But they're tiny, so you don't really notice it.
Yeah.
It's like how someone has brought up the theory that every Disney character you see, if they are wearing gloves, there is something hidden about them besides their hand. There's always a hidden agenda or a hidden secret behind them.
I know this isn't Disney, but Sonic the Hedgehog. What's up with all those characters? Why do they only wear gloves and shoes? Why don't they wear pants like all the others? Like all the rest of us.
Donald Duck wears a shirt and no pants.
Squidward tentacles. He also wears a brown shirt.
Scrooge McDuck. Soon to be voiced by David Tennant.
Really?
Yes. It'd be the one time you actually are listening to David Tennant where he actively sounds like a Scot in a television production that he's taking part of.
Broad shirt.
Does he break out the brogue for that?
Every now and again. I've only watched...
I haven't really watched it too much, so I don't know.
I watched part of it and then I kind of lost interest. Mostly because it was a television drama that was moving very slowly at a British pace. It was a drama, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with drama.
Yeah.
And as always, in the words of my first sergeant, watch out for bridges.
Bell bridges?
No, just bridges.
Jeff Bridges?
No, just like
Lloyd bridges?
regular bridges. Like you drive your car over and it says like caution narrow bridge. Like I don't know, yeah, some weird thing like, oh, you better make sure you don't like watch out for those better make sure you watch out for those bridges. They can be icy when it's cold and blah blah blah. And
I would have thought that'd be a warning about I.E.D.s.
yeah, but you
That reminds me, you ever watch the Red Green Show?
no.
Used to.
You remember the guy who would always be blowing stuff up?
Nope.
Edgar Montrose, played by... Oh, crap. It's gonna kill me if I can't remember his name. He was talking about the differences in Hollywood movies and saying how Bridge on the River Kwai was great because they blew up the bridge on the end of the movie.
Montrose by Graham Greene.
Graham Greene, that's what it was. Graham Greene. And he said, versus the bridges of Madison County. He watched through the whole movie and not one bridge blew up. And I'm sorry, but that's the only way you'd ever get to me to see the bridges of Madison County.
I saw him when I drive through there. What? There's a lot of bridges out there. Overpasses.
I didn't think they had their own county. Yeah. I was going to say, I thought they were exclusively County. All right, well, on that note of fact, validation, and verification, any other shuns we should add to that? Parting words, Snafu?
I don't know. It's above my pay grade.
Okay, and Toast?
I can't believe it's not butter.
All right, then. Once again, this has been your navigator and guide, Mr.E. Thank you for joining Tales from the Time Traveler's Tavern. So that's it.